So very happy afternoon to everybody. Can all of you hear me? Okay. And today our masterclass is for cohort 2, and it's brought to you by one of our strategic partners, FWD Takaful. They are in insurance and financial planning, but they have this digital marketing program that they will share with all of you. It's for 5 Wednesdays at 2:30, and we will keep you updated about the dates every week. To remind you. So this program is very successful. They have done it with many different organizations and NGOs as well. And I hope you will benefit from their program, participate in their activities, because then, they always say that when you do it hands-on, you actually will become more used to the thing, and you will become better, right? So I would like to invite Diana, who's here to run the session for us. Thank you, Diana, for joining us. Just to let you know that we have a full cohort, but most of them who are not here will actually view this session on the recording. And the purpose we do the recording for our participants is that they will be able to view it over and over again, because repetition is mastery, right? So I will hand over the session to you. Feel free to contact us should you during the session need anything, right? So the floor is yours, Diana.
All right, thank you so much, Rani. Good afternoon, evening to everyone. My name is Diana, and I'm just going to give you guys a very short introduction about myself and about FWD Takaful. So, from what I understand in our discussions with Get Employed, right, for the program Get Employed, right? You guys are venturing into digital marketing and digital opportunities in terms of um, entrepreneurship or in your jobs and stuff. So basically, a little background on me. What I do in FWD Takaful is that my team and I, we oversee the digital products that FWD Takaful have. So I'm sure you guys are all familiar with insurance and agents, right? Feel free to reply in the chat if you are or if you're not, so I can just know who's around. Yeah. Anyways, I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar, right, with insurance and insurance agencies. And while that is one way for us to spread the knowledge or maybe just share about financial protection with people, ultimately we are in the fourth industrial revolution, which means we are already moving not just into electronic and IT, we are now in artificial intelligence era, which means we're one step beyond just using internet as a way of earning an income or even just doing anything in our life. It's so integrated in our daily life. So if we keep staying with just one way of sharing about financial protection, which is through agencies, we can't keep up with a lot of the other new advancements we have. So even within the insurance industry, now what we've done is, and what FWD is doing very aggressively, is to start opening up participation for insurance and for Takaful. So in Malaysia, we are a Takaful brand, which means we follow the Sharia compliance part of financial protection. So what we do is we actually give the opportunity for people to do their research online, to go through the application process online and do it on themselves. So it's super simple, it's very straightforward. Imagine how you buy something on Shopee and where you just click add to cart and then you add in your shipping, your billing details, and then done. You pay and then your stuff arrives to you, right? So same concept for insurance as well. What we want to do now is want to make it so easy for you to protect yourself that all you have to do is just open up the website, go through maybe 3 to 4 steps, verify certain things, and you're done. You're protected under a plan. So because of the way we market our products, right, we go through a digital channel. Of course, we would need people who are familiar with digital marketing. So that's where I come in. So what I do a lot of times is I create content for our products. For example, one of our products is FWD Big 3 Critical Illness Protection Plan. It's a protection plan that covers you for critical illness. What I would do is I would create the ads that you see on Google and on Facebook. I come up with the idea. I think about what kind of message we want to send across to the audience or to people that we want to attract, right? What kind of illustrations we want to do, what kind of angle are we taking, who are our target segment. So these are just a little bit of what we do in digital marketing, but this is what I do on a day-to-day basis. So with that experience, and also just with some of the knowledge that my team already developed about digital marketing, that is what we want to share with you guys today. It's not so much about the product, to be very honest with you. It is more on how we have been planning our digital marketing concepts, how we develop visuals, and specifically to everyone here, I think a very important part of digital marketing nowadays is social media. You need to know how to develop content that is adding value to people. And a lot of times you would see this type of content on social media. That's how so many small businesses can make it big, because social media is a very powerful platform. So it's really good if you know how to learn how to use it to earn money, simply put, and also just to your advantage lah. You can use this for yourself. You can use this when you're in an organization. Really, it's a very useful skill that can be transferred to a lot of areas of your life. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, just feel free to unmute and ask, or you can just drop it in the chat. I'm completely fine with that as well. Sorry, Rani, but do you mind allowing me to share screen so I can just show the slides?
Yes, yes. 1 minute, please. I'll make you co-host now.
All right, sure.
Okay, you may now.
All right, great. Okay. Just go to presentation mode. All right, okay. So before we start on digital marketing in itself, today's session is more of like just to let you dip your toes a bit into the Takaful industry. And the reason why we decided to make this the first session is because we feel like a lot of people, to simply put, right, a lot of people tend to have misconceptions when it comes to insurance or Takaful, and maybe that's because you've had a bad experience, or you know someone who's had a bad experience. I think it happens to most of us, myself included. Before I joined the Takaful industry, we all have our own like perception about it. But once I joined and I'm in the company in itself, and especially because I work with digital products, right, which means I'm handling the products on its own, I realized that there's actually a lot of things that should be common knowledge that really aren't, because it's not talked about by everyone. And that's why we wanted to share this first, because when you have a rough idea of how Takaful works, just for your own understanding, one, it makes you a better consumer, and two, when you step into the digital marketing side of it, it'll be very useful because you know how to create the message. So for example, when I go later in the later weeks where we start talking about content development, how to create caption, how to capitalize on social media, all of that, you will have a better understanding of it once you know the references I'm giving, which will be based on FWD Takaful products that I handle. So that's why we're having this session today. To be very honest, I think out of all the 5 sessions, this will be our shortest one because it's a very overview of the industry first. Okay, so before I go into the Takaful part of it, I just wanted to give you guys an overview of what we will be doing within the next 5 sessions, just to manage expectations on both ends. At the same time, as I'm running through this, I would really appreciate if you guys can just drop in the chat box section of like maybe something you want to learn more about or something you're interested to learn in terms of digital marketing, and we're more than happy to see if we can accommodate that into the mastery classes. Because at the end of the day, the reason why we're doing this is so that you guys feel like every time you step into these sessions, there's an added value for you. You leave with something. You leave with something you can try or do, and we want to make sure that we're able to do that for you. Okay. So first week, like I mentioned, we will just talk a little bit about personal financial management. So this is a bit more on your personal finances and why is financial protection important in the first place. And then at the end of every week, we're just going to have a really short Kahoot session. Don't worry, you're not like graded on this or anything. It's just for fun, just to keep it light and easy. We have simplified a lot of the content here so that even if you don't have any experience with Takaful or with digital marketing in itself, don't worry, this is very easy for you to digest. It's very easy for you to understand as well. And we will also be providing these slides to Rani later for her to upload for your further references and just readings later on. Okay, so first week we'll talk a bit about why financial protection is important and really how much do you need, right, as a person. And the next one we'll talk about is what is Takaful really? And I think the very common one that we get is what's the difference between Takaful and conventional insurance? So we'll touch a bit on that later, and also the different types of Takaful. And then we will simplify the concept of Takaful and some insurance terms you may come across or heard before. Because truth be told, I'm honestly a fresh graduate. This is my first job. And I remember when I came in, I was the best thing that my boss did was she told me, go and read as many Takaful terms as you can, come back to me with the questions. And it really helped because even now, as someone who's, just handling my own personal finances, it makes it so much easier for me to understand when people talk to me because it doesn't feel like they're talking in a different language anymore. So then we'll just give you a really short scenario on how Takaful works so you can kind of experience it for yourself. Like just have a look. Okay. Then second week is where all the fun will begin. We will introduce you a little bit into FWD affiliates. Okay, so this is actually an initiative that my team oversees for the digital products. It's essentially an affiliate program where you get to share content and learn about Takaful, and at the same time, you get to earn money off of it. So this is actually an opportunity we started up right, we really aggressively launched it right when COVID hit, which was a good time because at that time a lot of people were looking for additional income and it came at the right time. So now we are just continuing it. I'll share a little bit more about it next week, so you guys have to join for that one. And then we will also start sharing a bit more about some of the products. And here's the most interesting part. We will actually be running a contest for this mastery class. It's just in case you guys are interested, we'll be running like a contest and there will be, I think, multiple winners selected, and we'll also have multiple prizes to share with you guys, which all of it I will share next week on the second week. So when we come into the third week, that's where it will get a little bit more heavy on the digital marketing side of things. It's very concentrated on that. So the first thing we will touch is on content creation. So this is the keystone of digital marketing. At the end of the day, right, whatever you want to do within digital marketing, it's about how you add value to people, because that's the current shift in marketing right now. So for example, people don't want to see how great maybe like how great your company is. That's not a priority to them anymore. At the end of the day, they want to know, as consumers, and even you yourself, if you put yourself in the shoes of a consumer, right, you don't want to know how great a company is. You want to know how this company or how this brand, how this product can actually benefit you. So when you want to share about a product or when you want to share about a service or anything, you need to see how can I create a story behind my plan, my product, my service that can add value to other people. So for example, let's say I take something a bit easier, like a concept that's a bit easier to digest. So for example, let's say we take skincare, right? So I think a lot of you here may be people who are girls and really into skincare, or even if you're a guy and you're into skincare, that's even better. So let's take skincare, right? If you go to let's say a shop, and then they just come to you and they aggressively share the product with you, they tell you what's great about this product. Oh, it has hyaluronic acid, it has retinol, blah blah blah, and you're there and you're hearing all these big bombastic words and you're nodding your head, and then they tell you the price is like 300 ringgit and you have no idea why is it so expensive. They tell you all these expensive terms, but you don't know what these terms mean and you don't know why they're expensive. So that's shop A. And then you have another shop B, right? When you go in and this lady comes to you and tells you, oh, we have hyaluronic acid, we have retinol. This one actually, it will help you with smoothening your wrinkles, with giving you a glow, give you hydration, explain to you why the product is valuable for you. And then they tell you the price. Now, between the two, right, and you can answer me in the chat, which one would you buy from? Would you buy from shop A or would you buy from shop B? And when you answer that question, right, that is where you will see how digital marketing or content creation specifically can really impact. Exactly, you'll buy from shop B because this person, this saleswoman or salesman, was able to show you how is this product beneficial to you? How can this product add value to your life? So that is essentially the whole idea of content creation as well. You want to teach people about your product, but at the same time, you want to teach them in a way that makes them see how is it valuable to them. So that is what we want to do within the third week, show you how content creation can achieve that. So we will share with you the different types of visual content, for example, soft sell and hard sell content. We will share with you some of the basics of visual content development. So visual content development essentially refers to things like pictures, videos, images or videos. So something you can see. And then we will talk to you about how to write captions. So I think especially if you're in social media, or even if you're not, even if you, let's say you have your own website or something, right? Of course, the way you do it is different, but at the end of the day, the way you describe your product can have a very big impact to whether someone ends up purchasing it or not. So they may see a picture and it looks really pretty and everything, but when they read your caption, that's where you want to grab their attention in terms of your product benefits, or why they should take your product. All of it should be there already. And then on the third week, we will also have an assignment. Now, again, this is not compulsory, but this assignment will really give you a bit more hands-on experience on developing content, and you get some guidance from us as well. We will be very available for everyone in case anybody needs any help. And also within this assignment, it'll be part of the contest. So you're not only going to be rewarded. I'm not going to share too much because I do want you guys to come for the second session, but you're not only going to be rewarded for great performance, but you'll also be rewarded for great engagement. So how often you come for sessions, how engaged are you with some of the activities we do, there is a reward for that as well. Because at the end of the day, we don't expect perfection, but we do want to see, like, we hope at the very least to see some progress, and you guys get to leave here, a little better than when you started the mastery classes. Okay, so week 4 will be a little bit more on the social media marketing side. So now you have a great content, you have something really solid that can sell. How are you going to make sure you reach out to as many people as you want? So this is the trick about social media, right? One thing good is that something can go viral so fast, especially with TikTok nowadays, right? The way the system, or what we call the algorithm, how it works is that it's so fast. One video can go viral over a day. But I'm sure also if you're not familiar with digital marketing and like some of the terms behind it, you might be wondering, how can a video get like 10 million views in like 24 hours? What makes this video viral? What makes people watch this video? Or let's say we take something a little bit lower scale. How can a brand gain so much attention? Maybe not to the millions, but they can gain attention and they can gain a good following. And not only relates to your content makes like maybe I would say 70-80% of it, but the other 20% is on how you understand social media metrics, or what we say, like how do you understand how social media works. So this is where we will teach you a bit about social media metrics. This is very basic stuff, things that, let's say if you open your Instagram and you go to your profile, let's say if you have a business profile or a content creator profile, there'll be this section called insights, and then how to read that. Because I remember when the first time I was exposed to it, honestly, it looked like another language to me. I did not understand it. I had to Google a lot, and it took me so many hours to like really be able to understand how to read the data. But what I'm doing right now, what my team has done, is we have prepared a whole session for 2 hours where you get like a crash course on it and you get to review it back later. And then, of course, after that, we want to also teach you how to create a strong impression on social media. So the first way to do that is to create a strong bio. So, when you open someone's profile and there's their bio there, what makes a good bio? And then we want to also teach you about how you can share content on social media. So sharing content on social media means that you need to know who are following you, or more importantly, if you ask me, who do you want to follow you? Who do you want? Like, for example, with FWD Takaful, right? What kind of audience do we want to follow us? Do we want young people? Do we want old people? Do we want people who are already interested in insurance? Or are we going more into the educational platform? So then we would want like mass audience to follow us. All of this you have to kind of think about and plan, because when you know your audience, that's how you can create good content for them. So it's like a chicken and egg cycle, right? You need to have good social media marketing to create good content, but without the good content, you cannot have good social media marketing either. So you need to have a good balance of both in order to kickstart into like digital marketing, or to understanding what digital marketing is. So same goes, we will also be having a short assignment. This is not something you'll be doing in the session, by the way. This is something that no strings attached. You can go back home, you can try it out if you want. If not, that's fine as well. But we do hope you try it because, like I said, there will be a reward for it. And on week 5, we're keeping things a bit more light and easy. We will share some of the best groups. So for sorry, not groups, it's individual assignments. But anyways, we will share some of the best assignments, and we will just tell you why we think these are the best, what made them stand out, and then you can have a little bit more learning there. And then so basically the content for week 5 is very dependent on week 3 and 4. We will be sharing on what essentially you guys have done, and we will be just talking about that a little bit. Maybe we can have some sort of back and forth where you guys can give us your comments too. Who knows, we both can learn something. And then we will also be sharing the contest winners. Yeah, and then we will also be talking a little bit about maybe the affiliate program again, just as a refresh in case you guys are interested. Okay, oh, sorry. All right, okay, so I've chatted enough about the overview. I hope it has gotten you guys a bit more interested to learn about what we're going into, which is Takaful and Insurance as a key financial management tool. Okay, so ultimately it comes back down to why do we need Takaful? So a little background on like me. I think I always like to derive from my own personal experience. I think that's how everyone finds it easily relatable. Like I said, I didn't really have the greatest perception about Takaful and Insurance simply because I've heard so many like scary stories about it. But until I got into the company, I realized that, you know how bad stories always tend to outweigh the good, even though sometimes the good happens more than the bad. It's like one of those situations because, you know, bad stories go viral and that's why we tend to hear about it. But I'm not gonna lie, ever since COVID came around, definitely it has highlighted a lot more on why it's important to be financially protected, because ultimately money is not everything. It's true, money is not everything, but you know, it's a great help when you are in a pinch and you are, you know, you need a lot of support. It's just helpful to know that that's one thing you don't have to worry about. So that's essentially why you need Takaful. It's just helping you in terms of the financial aspects of your life. That's it. But it's a big part of your life, so that's why it's good to have a backup for it. So ultimately, it's to protect you against unforeseen events. And more importantly, actually, it's to protect your income in the event that you are unable to work. So people tend to have this perception that you only need insurance when you are older, you got kids, and you have dependents. But the truth is, a lot of people in our generation, be it older than me or younger than me even, it doesn't necessarily work that way anymore. You have single people who are not married that are taking care of elder parents. That is a dependent that we don't talk about enough, because ultimately these are still people depending on their income. So it's true, sometimes we don't get insurance for ourselves. We actually get it for the people around us, so that to make sure that if anything happens to our income, especially if they're dependent on our income, they are, if not well protected until the end of time, they have some time to bounce back, rather than having no time to process everything and like already having to like worry about money, you see. So but also on the other hand, right, protecting your income is essentially protecting yourself as well. I don't know how many of you here are actually freelancers or gig workers. I was a gig worker once, and I can tell you that gig workers, essentially, simply put, the way we work is you work, you get money. You don't work, you don't get money. So when you are working or when you have a career like that, it's so important for you to have a backup plan. So in the event you cannot work, you have something to at least cushion the fall or give you some time to figure out what your next step is, you know, especially when something unexpected happens. So I mean, if you think about it, right, that's why like all these big famous players, like football players, they will insure their foot or they will insure their hand. Pianists will insure their fingers, because that's money for them, that's work, that's their career. Same goes to us, whether we are office workers, we are gig workers, whatever value we have, we need to insure it to make sure that we are protecting our income. And of course, like I mentioned just now, it's just about helping your loved ones get back on their feet. Okay. All right. So now let's talk about needs versus wants. So you have your needs, right? This one's like something very basic. I'm sure if you all have kids at home, like standard 4, standard 5 kids, this is what they're learning now. Your needs are your food, your shelter, your clothes, that sort of thing. And then you have your wants, which is something you want to have. So for example, the new iPhone 13 or the Samsung Z Flip, those are all wants. Okay, now a lot of people tend to think that insurance or financial protection falls under wants because they don't quite understand how it works. But thankfully, I feel like over the recent years, what we've seen is that shift in mindset. People are starting to realize protecting your finances is a need because the need, earning an income is a need. Therefore, to protect the income should also be a need. Okay. All right. So why income protection? So like mentioned just now, it is to take care of yourself, right? But how? So income protection, in a way, it helps you to protect your most valuable assets. So for one, your home. And I'm not saying your house because your house is just a property in terms of monetary value. Yes, correct. But you know, some people, we have homes that we've built with our families and we don't want to lose that. So we've seen, like, for example, in the recent floods, people lost not just houses, but they lost their homes. So in a way, yes, getting an insurance probably can't repair a lot of the damage, like in terms of the sentimental value, but it helps you salvage what you can. You see, it's a damage control plan. So valuable assets, family protection, it protects your family, which is your most valuable assets. And of course, lastly, it also protects you from medical expenses. And this is something that people don't talk about enough because we don't want to think about it. We don't want to think about getting sick. Nobody wants to think about it. And that's completely fair. It's just that if you don't want to think about it, actually, if you think about it again, you should get insurance. Because when you have protection, then you don't have to think about future medical expenses. But if you don't have protection, then that's something you need to account for in your savings or in your income. You need to put aside some money for it. Okay, so like I mentioned just now, when do you actually need insurance, right? So sorry, but like the chat room keeps expanding. That's why I can't see my own slides. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can minimize this so I can stop moving it around. Okay. All right. So you have your income and your expenses. So that's fine. But you see, when your income start to increase and then your savings start to deplete, right, and it hits that point where your income gets lower than your expenses, that is when you need financial assistance. So a lot of times you can see this happen a lot of times. Some people take out a loan and stuff, but essentially getting yourself financially protected prevents you from having to go into debt if something happens. And a lot of times some people cannot get a loan anymore when that happens. Okay, so it's a domino effect, right? You have your health, and if your health, let's say for example, if it's health that deteriorates, it will affect your career. Your career will affect your income. Your income, if you have no more income, you don't have money like that's coming in, you're gonna have to start touching your savings. The minute you start touching your savings, you're gonna have to quote unquote ikat perut and like reduce your lifestyle commitments. You can only go back to the basics. And when you do that, ultimately it will affect your family as well in so many ways. Because let's be real, a lot of the lifestyle we have, we get accustomed to it, and when we change that, it does have a psychological and an emotional impact on us as well. Okay, so which category does Takaful fit in the budgeting rule? So if you guys don't know what the budgeting rule is, it is essentially the needs versus want. So like evaluating which one is it, and like I mentioned, it falls under your needs. Okay, now let's go into a little bit more of the nitty-gritty details. So how much protection does a person actually need? So this is not a standard rule. This is like what we call a guide. It really depends on your lifestyle as well. So for example, for income protection, you should have 10 times your annual income for coverage. So for example, if let's say you earn like, I'm just talking a number, let's say you earn like 40,000 in a year, you should have like 400,000 worth of coverage, 10 times of that amount. But this is just a rule of thumb because, for example, right, let's say you have a very luxurious lifestyle. You've got like a great car, you've got a great house, you have like a club membership or something like that, like you have a lot of expenses, then you may need more than 10 times your annual income. So you need to look at your expenses as well and evaluate just how much is it going to take to actually ensure all of this is being paid for if you have no money coming in, basically. And then second one that we have to think about, unfortunately, is critical illness. It's not something that we all like to think about. It's something that nobody enjoys doing it. But you know what? We don't like to think about COVID either. But because we don't want to think about COVID and we don't want to worry about it, one of the things we do is go take the vaccine, right, as a preventative measure. Same goes to your protection plan as well. It's a preventative measure in case anything happens, you are cushioning the fall. You're not making it as bad as it's going to be. So same goes for critical illness protection. It should be about 5 times your annual income. So again, let's say if you earn like 40,000, you should have about 200,000. Again, also depends on like certain things that, for example, if you have a persistent family history for cancer, you should roughly acknowledge how much is it going to cost you if anything happens. Again, this is just something that it's a very uncomfortable topic. It's a topic we don't like thinking about, especially if you're young. I feel you just don't want to think about it because you tend to think that it's not going to happen to you. So we don't want that concern lah. But ultimately, it's just good to be prepared for anything, because if we end up in a situation where something happens and we're not prepared, especially for people with dependents, like I said, it's not just you affected anymore, it's the people around you as well. So yeah, 5 times your annual income. Okay, so what is Takaful in itself? So Takaful is a type of Islamic insurance, and I know that when people say Islamic, people tend to think it's only for Muslims, but that's not true. It's just like how all religions have their certain set of rules, right? Like we all have for example, like we all have our own certain set of customs and rules. In Islam, there's also a certain guide in a way for business. So Takaful in itself is actually just saying that it follows the Islamic guide, but it's applicable for everyone. Everyone can have a Takaful plan. There's no problem. Oh, sorry, Lydia has a question. For someone who does not have a fixed annual income, this is not applicable. Perhaps should base on annual expenses. Yes, correct. So like I mentioned, okay, so actually Lydia is coming from someone who used to not have a fixed income. I can say that there's actually 2 ways to do this. Like, feel free to, again, this is really very much based on a case-to-case basis, right? But another way you can look at it is to average out your income and roughly estimate what the average is like, because most of the time that's what you will earn, unless, for example, a pandemic hits and it drastically changes your working climate. Then yes, correct, you should actually base on your annual expenses, because that's something that's more reliable. So you should see how much you need to cover your expenses. But generally, I think a lot of times people take income because you're supposed to earn more than you spend, right? So it's better to cover what you earn more rather than just exactly on the amount that you spend. Thanks. May I know how much should we have to lead a decent living in Malaysia? Honestly, I don't have that question because I don't have an answer to that question, because it really depends on the lifestyle that you look for. This is something that is more custom to that person. This is something that you should, if you want to know more about, you can talk to a consultant, or you can start looking more into personal financial management in terms of day-to-day finances. Because when you talk about financial protection, right, it's essentially that you already roughly know how much your expenses are. You already know how much income you are roughly earning at a period of time, and you're protecting the lifestyle that you already have currently. So in terms of how much you have to lead a decent living, that's more of you having to find either professional assistance on it, or you have to navigate it on your own. Either ways. Okay, so coming back to Takaful, right? Takaful, essentially how it differs from conventional insurance is that Takaful, people contribute money into a pool system. So think about it this way. Let's say you and your friends, all of you can save 10 ringgit. But let's say if someone falls and scrape their knee, right, it costs you 2 ringgit to get a cast or to get checked in at the doctors. I'm just using really small numbers to kind of paint the picture first. Okay, so let's say 10 ringgit, 2 ringgit cost you to do this. But let's say, like, for example, out of that 10 ringgit, right, you can't really do much with it. For example, like if it really costs you, let's say like 2 ringgit for the cast, and then 3 ringgit for medication, and then maybe another 8 ringgit for like consultation, and then you have transport back home or additional cost incurred because you scrape your knee or something, it might cost you more than the 10 ringgit that you've already saved. But now, let's say, for example, you and like 10 other friends have 10 ringgit and you all put it together in a pool of money, like a tabung. And then now you have 100 ringgit. So now with 100 ringgit, anytime someone falls sick, they can take that 100 ringgit and give to that person. So now from only having 10 ringgit, you actually have 100 ringgit to cover any costs. And the likelihood of someone actually, all 10 of you falling sick at the same time is very low. So let's say, for example, you give already like 100 ringgit to this person, then you guys start collecting again. And then now you have another 100 ringgit. And then let's say another person, something happens to them. Now you have 100 ringgit to give them. So that's essentially how Takaful works. It's about pooling money together to guarantee each other from loss and damage. It's like very because from an Islamic perspective, it's very societal oriented, like we're supposed to live in a society. So Takaful kind of embodies that by creating this pool system. So Takaful is Sharia compliant, which basically just means that you know, when you pool money into like Takaful or insurance, what they do with your contribution or the premium that you pay every month is that they will take it and they will invest the money. And when they invest the money, that return and also with what everyone else is contributing, they will put it in like a fund, or like what they use here for Takaful, in like a pool of funds, right? And that's the money they will distribute whenever someone makes a claim. So with Takaful, what they do is the money that they invest, they ensure that it is free of usury, which basically means interest, free of uncertainties or anything that does not have a like predictable result, and of gambling, because gambling is not allowed in Islamic law, right? So other prohibited elements. So basically it just makes sure that the money is very secured, or as secured as it can be lah. And Takaful, just for your knowledge, comes from the Arabic root word of kafala, which means to guarantee. So like mentioned just now, Takaful is essentially like financial security for you and your loved ones. It's like wearing a face mask. So like I mentioned just now, nobody actually wants to fall sick or get anything happens to them. But when you step out of the house, you still wear your face mask, right? Because you may not like to think about COVID. You may not want to think about COVID also, but you just protect yourself just to make sure that everything's up and good with you and you're doing your part. So that's what financial security is like. It's essentially just you doing your part for yourself and for your loved ones. Okay, so Takaful concepts basically, like I mentioned, comes from the spirit of solidarity with people around you, brotherhood, and mutuality. Okay, all right. So just some ideas on how Takaful is like. So first of all, the contract used is actually a donation contract. So basically what this means is that, remember how I said like you pool money, you get 100 ringgit into a pool of funds, and then you give it to someone. Essentially that's you donating to them. So that's why like actually the concept of Takaful is a donation concept. And then basically what they do is they will have someone become like the bendahari, like the penjaga, the person who takes care of the pool of funds, which is in, like, for example, FWD Takaful, we are the agency that take care of that pool of fund. So you pay a certain fee to the company. So what we call wakala. So wakala is essentially, if you look at conventional insurance, it's like the fee you pay to the insurance company for guaranteeing your risk, right? But this one is like, instead of paying it to guarantee your risk, it's just a payment for their service of managing that pool of funds. And also profit sharing. So profit sharing comes from the part where, if you don't know, Takaful actually gives you surplus. So for example, remember how I said they invest your money? When investment comes in, sometimes there's a profit, right? You get a certain percentage of it. So they will deduct it from your contribution. So let's say, for example, again, plucking a small number, let's say if you pay 10 ringgit, then they invest that money and then you get like 5 ringgit back. So they will just deduct the 5 ringgit from your contribution. A very simplified mechanism for an example. Yeah, and then for risk, okay, so instead of risk transfer, so basically risk transfer means that, let's say if you pay a conventional insurance company, they are essentially taking your risk and like taking the risk onto themselves, right? But with Takaful, it's essentially they are risk sharing among the participants. So everyone puts in 10 ringgit, so we are all sharing the risk of one person falling sick. But you see, the likelihood of that person not being able to bounce back after falling sick is much lesser because now they have higher pool of funds or more money to actually help them in the event it happens. So you're sharing that risk together. And the benefits is that it's paid from defined funds under joint indemnity. So it means the funds are definite. You know you will get that amount. Like I said, with Takaful, right, there's no uncertainty allowed. So it's very clear cut. If your coverage is 400,000, that is what you get. And like I mentioned, there is surplus. Payment of contribution, we call it again as a donation, tabaruk. And the intention behind Takaful is essentially to create both a spiritual and a legal relationship. So, of course, for example, for Muslims, they would take Takaful simply because it aligns with their religious values, but also because Takaful in itself already has a system that is legalized. It's also a legal relationship between the operator, for example, like FWD Takaful, and the participant. Okay, so this is what we call the mutual guarantee concept. So all certificate owners will agree to guarantee each other and make a contributions to a pool or a mutual fund, like I mentioned. So basically, they all take 10 ringgit, put inside the tabung. And then Takaful fund is created by the collected contributions. Then let's say, for example, you have FWD Takaful as the manager of that fund. The Takaful fund will be managed by us and will be given out to the necessary participants whenever a claim is made and after we investigate it, obviously. And then, so when a claim is made, we will handle it and we will pay out to beneficiaries or to you, depending on who's supposed to get the payout. And then the claims are paid using that Takaful fund. And then the sum covered are given to the beneficiaries or the owner of the certificate. Okay, so this is the difference between Takaful and insurance. One is Sharia compliant and the other is not. Basically, that's the biggest difference. The contract type, one is a donation contract. Donation and service contract. Donation in a sense where the contribution you pay is a donation. Service in a sense where the Takaful operator is just acting out a service. They are not taking any risk from you. And then for insurance, like conventional insurance, it's a buy and sell. You are buying a product from them and they are selling a product to you. And the obligation of a company. So for Takaful operators, they are essentially just a fund manager. They handle the pool of funds. And then for conventional insurance, it's just that they are an insurer, so they insure you, literally to that word. So the guarantee comes from the participants for a Takaful fund because, like I said, it's actually the participants' money. But for conventional insurance, it's actually a guarantee given by the insurance company. And then for compensation, with Takaful, it's paid from the Takaful fund, so it means the pool of funds that we've pooled. And then for insurance, it's actually the company paying you because it's a buy and sell contract. So for investments that they do with your contributions or the money that you pay them, with Takaful, it's Sharia compliant. But with conventional insurance, it just means that it's not necessarily Sharia compliant. So I'm not sure if this is something that is a big deal to a lot of people, but for Muslims it is. But also for people who are just very particular about, let's say, where the money goes and stuff, or they may have a certain stance towards gambling or alcohol or something like that, then they may go for a Sharia compliant purchase as well, simply just because of like their own values. And then you have the payment of premium and contribution. So like I've mentioned, Takaful is treated as a donation, but with premiums or the payments that you make to a conventional insurance, it's on a sale and purchase contract. So it's a buy and sell contract. Okay, if you guys have any questions on like the difference between conventional and Takaful in itself, you guys can let me know because I'll most likely probably be able to answer you on it. Just for your own knowledge as well, in case you just wanted to learn. Since there's no obligations here, we're just sharing information. Okay, so the next type of Takaful, the different types of Takaful, the first one is family Takaful. So family Takaful, basically it means what it says, it's for a family. So we have term Takaful, which is for life, essentially insuring your life. We have medical Takaful, which insures you for your medical expenses. We have an investment-linked Takaful, which basically just means that it's an investment plan as well as a protection plan. And educational Takaful, if you want to put aside money for your children's education fund. Okay, so Magalika actually, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. But she actually asked a very good question here. what happens if there are insufficient funds to meet all the claims? Do the Takaful members have to top up their contributions? And the answer to that is actually no, because there is also this thing called a deficit. So for example, let's say let's take my example again of having that 100 ringgit in a pool of funds. Let's say I get sick and I need 100 ringgit. And maybe someone else in the pool gets sick and they need 100 ringgit, but we only have 100 ringgit inside the pool. Now, what the fund manager will do is they will borrow 100 ringgit to the pool of funds first to pay out that claim. And then remember how they invest your money. So when the surplus comes in and the profits come in, they will use that money to pay that deficit. When there is extra income, that's when they actually start giving it back to the participants and deduct out the contribution. So essentially, you're not paying extra. The fund manager will, like, in one way or another, will take out the money first and give. And then when the investment profits come back in, they will just like put it back in. Like they will just take the portion and then put the rest back into the fund. Sorry for the interruption. End of this session, will you be sharing the slide with us? Yep, no worries. I will be sharing this slide with you guys because I know this is quite a bit of information, and I do feel like even if it's not super related to digital marketing, it's a really good course, or maybe just a good slide for you guys to have as well. So yeah. Okay. All right. So I've covered family Takaful. Let's talk about online Takaful plans. Okay. So the reason why we are covering on family Takaful is because FWD Takaful is a family Takaful business, or we only handle family Takaful plans. Okay, so online Takaful. Now, this is something that's a little bit more related to digital marketing in itself. So, like I've mentioned, people may have a certain perception about insurance or Takaful or protection plans or whatnot, right? So, what we want to do in FWD Takaful is to actually change all the ones on the left to the right. And I'll explain how online insurance plays a part in this vision. So this is a vision that FWD Takaful has as a whole. So in FWD, we have agency insurance, like Takaful as well. We have agency plans, and we also have digital plans, right? So this is covering for both, but I'll explain how the digital plans kind of work by this concept as well. So first, we want to change the conversation about insurance or protection or Takaful from irrelevant to relevant. And what I mean by this is, simply put, as like I said when I started, some people just don't know about Takaful. Like, it's not a conversation we normally talk about. Ultimately, right, the only people that tend to talk about insurance are either people in finance or agents themselves. So it's not as commonly spoken about, like, for example, skincare or food or anything really, like skincare, food, beauty, games. This one, right, you can talk to anyone about it without feeling any consciousness about the topic. So we want to take that away. We want to make it very relevant to your daily life, because it should be very relevant to your daily life. It should be something that can be conversed about without feeling awkward about it. And then we want to take the concept from being very complex. So for example, like I said, like when you open the Takaful cert, sometimes you just see like 5,000 words that you actually don't understand, and there's no one there to explain it to you. Then you want to ask the agent also. Sometimes maybe the agent also don't know, or you ask your friend don't know, or even if you read up on Google, so you don't know. So it's like there's just a lot of words and there's just a lot of research to be done. So what we want to do is we want to make it very simple for you. If you actually have a look at a lot of the FWD online plans, our certificates are super easy to understand. It's basic English, and we even explain certain terms, like, for example, waiting time, underwriting, all those sort of words that maybe some people are not familiar with. We provide a little explanation for it, so you know what you're signing for is essentially. And we want to change from a mistrust concept, like the perception you may have about Takaful and protection, to a trusting one. And we feel like we can only build that when we actually explain to people why Takaful is important, why should you protect yourself. And we want to change the conversation from something that's very boring, something that people don't want to talk about, to making it fun, making it passionate, making it surprising for people. And I think the best way to do that is to teach people, because at the end of the day, especially within this internet era, I feel like everyone's always in the loop for new information. Everyone's always keen to learn something new. So as long as you can make it simple enough to understand that everyone can understand, people are willing to learn. And we want to change it from something that's not very empathetic to something more human, more caring. So for example, things like explaining how Takaful can impact your life specifically. This is something that agents do pretty well, right? They will talk to you about your personal life and then ask them. So basically that's the more human caring part of it. But you see, when you look into an online platform, it's a bit hard to do that because it's not an agent sitting there one-on-one with you and having a conversation. So this is where content creation is really important, because you need to be able to come across as human, as caring, as engaging, which is the last point here, through your content, through your words, because that's how people can feel how caring are you about their situation. Okay, I've got a question here from, okay, if you switch fund in investing from A to B in between, if the policy, is there any switch fund? Oh, sorry, is there any switch fund in investing from A to B in between the policy if the policy holder wishes to? If you're referring to investment linked funds, those are still very much agency driven because it's a very complex plan, right? When you talk about investment, there's a lot of variables to it. There's a lot of things that influences it, right? So that one, most of the time, is still an agent plan. And in a way, the reason why they do it like that is because it's good to have someone sit down and explain to you what essentially your money is going into. That's very important. But if you're referring to the plan in itself, it depends, because, for example, to switch between, like, let's say from one Takaful or insurance company to another, sometimes there is okay, so two ways. One is either a penalty, but I don't think a lot of plans have that anymore. The only other thing is that bear in mind that when you take insurance or protection or Takaful or anything in that same manner, it's always more affordable to take it when you're younger. So for example, right, a person taking it at 25, let's say we take like a life protection, like term Takaful plan, right, where it protects you, your life. When you take it at 25, it probably would cost you, like, for example, we have this plan called FWD Flexi Cover Group Plan. If I take it at 25, it would probably cost me maybe like 20, 30 ringgit a month. If I take it at 45, it might cost me 200 a month. Simply because when they do your underwriting and they see like they calculate risk and all that, your price goes up. So for example, if you're talking, like, if you're referring to a plan, let's say if you switch between plans and you're older, you may actually have to pay more. That's the only thing I can think of. Unless you think that other plan actually offers you better benefits or anything, then you might want to make that move. It's just something that you kind of have to evaluate based on your own finances as well. Does Takaful cover people who are uninsurable by conventional insurers? This is not really a Takaful or conventional insurance difference. It's just more of like a plan to plan basis. So for example, like in one of the online plans that I handle with my team, right, that we do marketing assets for, one of it is Big 3 critical illness protection plan. So that one covers for critical illness, and we cover for cancer, stroke, and heart attack. And obviously someone who has that history may not be able to take that plan, right? And more often than not, what we tend to see is people with disabilities may not be able to take a medical insurance plan or a life protection plan also, for the matter. But we also have a separate plan called Special Care Direct. This one's actually for kids lah. But we also have another plan that actually just covers for children with learning disabilities. So I wouldn't say it's a directly no for your answer if you're asking between Takaful and conventional, because it really depends on the plan. I'm not sure if there's any plans out there that actually covers medical insurance for uninsurable, because when you say uninsurable, that's a very big community. There is probably a plan that covers for one type of disability or uninsurableness. So it's not a conventional and Takaful difference. It's very much plan to plan basis. Something you probably have to like kind of look into to see if there's a plan that covers for what you are looking for. Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay. All right. So the online process, like for FWD specifically, how we try to make it as simplified as possible is to make it hassle-free and to make it direct. So for example, you go onto our online product page, you just read through it, you get you get an understanding of what you're essentially looking for. Let's say if, like the big tree plan, you like it and you want to get a quote. So you click get a free quote, put in some information, and we'll roughly tell you how much it's going to cost you. Answer a simple health assessment question. So all you have to do is just read through it, see whether you have any of this history, click yes or no depending on your answer, fill in your details, and then make your payment. That's it. Honestly, it shouldn't even take you that long. It should probably only take you about 5 to 10 minutes to do one, less than 10 minutes. Okay, so what are the advantages of getting an online Takaful plan in the first place? So it's easy, it's fast, and it's simple. The application process, like I mentioned, could probably take you less than 10 minutes. Affordable pricing. Okay, the reason why online plans are more affordable is simply because it's a pure protection plan. So bringing us to the third point, right? So far, there's no online plan that is investment linked. It's essentially just to protect your finances, essentially just to protect the income that you already have. And that's why it's affordable, because it's a very focused plan just to protect you. And there's no need for any medical examinations. You just have to answer questions. Information are provided and easily obtained on the Takaful operator website and its affiliates. So anything you want to know about the plan or anything you want to understand about the company is all on the website. You just have to do your own research. So you can do it at your own time. Okay, so Takaful and insurance language. This one is more on the glossary of Takaful and insurance, a little bit on the all these complicated words that I may have mentioned also in this session. So for example, things like hibah, tabarruk, rider, wakala, riba, sum covered can sound very confusing to someone who may not be very familiar with it. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. So for example, let's take hibah. So hibah is essentially gift. It's an Arabic word for the word gift. And the reason why we say this word is common in Takaful is because you would see it a lot in the certificates. They will say hibah basharat, conditional hibah. And the reason being is because the payout you get. So for example, let's say you cover yourself for like 300,000 and you put your wife or your husband as a beneficiary. That 300,000 that goes to them, right, is essentially viewed as a gift to them. That's like your parting gift to them, or like it's a gift to them. Or let's say if the hibah is on you, you're supposed to get the money for like critical illness or disability or something. That is essentially a gift that you bought for yourself. The word hibah just quite literally means gift. Tabaru means donation, like I've mentioned. So it's a donation contract, right? And then riders just mean add-on benefits. So for example, certain plans, especially in some of like medical plans, I've noticed this is just my personal observation, we will have add-on benefits called riders. So for example, in Big Three, you can get covered for heart attack, stroke, and cancer, but we also have an additional rider where you can get covered for 24 neurological and heart conditions, so brain and heart conditions that are early stages. So things like pacemaker and stuff, you can get covered if you choose to take that rider. So it's something you can choose to add or not add into your coverage. And then wakala just means contract. So any contract under Takaful is called a wakala contract. That's it. It just quite literally means contract. And then riba just means unjust gains. So for example, in any of the investments that we do, we will not put it into a investment platform that maybe charges really high interest or has unfair gains between like the investor and the investment and the pool and all that. Like if any part of the investment contains riba in a sense where there is unfair gains, we will not invest in it. And even in the contract between, let's say, the participant, the person who's paying the contributions, and the Takaful operator, there should not be any riba there, because it's not part of like, it's not Islamic in terms of like the Sharia compliance of it. And sum covered just basically means how much you are covered for. So for example, when you take a plan, you can choose how much you want to be covered for, 100,000, 200,000, 200,000, for example. So let's say if you choose 300,000, touch wood, if anything happens, that's the amount of money you should be getting back. Okay, actually, Mangalika, this is relating to your question. You know, like if because since it's a pooling of funds, right? Why won't it cover for certain people? And the reason being is because of underwriting. And underwriting basically means the company, the Takaful operator, will have a look at all these factors and see how much to charge for the contribution amount. And the reason why we do this is because one person may have higher risk, another person may have lower risk. So in order to keep it fair, the person with a higher risk will have to pay a slightly larger contribution amount, or they may not be able to actually be part of this specific pool of funds simply because the risk will not be around the same level. You'll be like far too variant. So that's why, like I mentioned, it's a very plan-to-plan basis, because underwriting is also something they do in conventional insurance. So sometimes it's not really like Takaful or conventional. It really depends on the plan. So like for example, like I mentioned, Special Care Direct is a plan specifically for children with learning disabilities. So the risk level among them is about the same. So when you put them into one fund together, the pricing will not be like super different between the rest, because we are trying to keep things as fair as possible for all participants of the pool of funds, right? So some of the factors of underwriting that we look into is, for example, gender. So in some plans, or maybe some types of protection, females may pay lesser than males. In some other protection plans, guys may pay more than girls. Oh, sorry, yeah, guys may pay more than girls. It depends. Like for example, if I'm not mistaken, for life protection plans under FWD, guys tend to pay slightly more, but for critical illness plans, girls tend to pay slightly more. So gender can play a role. Occupation can play a role. So are you working in an office or are you working on site? Because that would change the risk that you have. Your health as well. So naturally, this one, you know, if you have a history of anything, it does make you higher risk. The lifestyle you have also will kind of determine the kind of risk that you have for, let's say, an illness or something. Coverage amount that you want. So if you want a higher coverage, it means like there is more money, there's risk of more money being taken out of the funds, right? So we need to also charge you slightly higher for your contribution if you require more coverage. And then lastly, of course, your age lah. So the older you get, it will most likely be the older you get, the more expensive it becomes. Okay. Underwriting is important for Takaful operators because they want to determine the willingness of them to pay tabarruk for potential risk. So that is essentially what I'm saying, where we need to assess whether this person can, how much they need to pay for their particular plan, because all of this will affect one, the likelihood of them to claim, and two, of course, for example, if it's like a multiple claims plan, then you know it could be like how many times you need to claim, and also at the end of the day how much they want to claim, which is where your coverage comes in. So for example, we have here Irfan. He's 21 years old, so he's still young. For a life plan, male will be considered more higher risk than female. Irfan has a job in a financial institution, maybe a bank, so low risk job. A person with bad health history will be at higher risk, but Irfan tends to live quite relatively healthy, so he does not smoke, he exercises regularly, but he wants a high sum of coverage, which will then factor into higher tabarruk, which means higher contributions as well. Okay, so let's take a look at the underwriting for this. So for example, let's say we take this new guy. His name is Lukman. He's 38 years old, so he means slightly higher risk than, let's say, a 20-year-old. Males will have higher risk, and then he works as an electrician, which is a high-risk job. And he is also a smoker. He's got bad health history, and he wants a higher sum covered to cover the risk of his job. So all of these are examples of the factors in underwriting that will result in very high tabarruk, which means very high contributions, or sometimes the case will just have to be rejected because the risk is far too high. Okay, so making a nomination means that you are choosing someone to receive or manage the money dispersed. So this is when we talk about when the claims, if you have made a claim, or like your family may make a claim, what are the different types of claims that can be done? So it depends on who you put as what. So For example, if it's a conditional hibah, so hibah meaning gift, right? So conditional gift essentially. You are giving the other person, or what we call the beneficiary, ownership to the benefits during his or her lifetime. So for example, let's say Irfan here takes this plan called FWD Flexi Cover Group Plan. So Flexi Cover is it's got a life protection benefit to it, right? So if anything happens to Irfan, beneficiary 1 and beneficiary 2. So let's say beneficiary 1 is the father and then beneficiary 2 is the wife. These two people will get a certain payout. So let's say Irfan's covered for 300,000 and he decides, okay, my dad will get 100,000, my wife will get 200,000. So if anything happens to him and one of them makes a claim, they will get their share, just like that. Okay, very straightforward. And then we have executor. So executor basically means you are granting someone the power to manage the distribution of benefits. So this is, I think, more relevant if, let's say, someone has a will, or for Muslims, if you want to follow the Faraid law, then having an executor will do that, where essentially Irfan will appoint an executor or the beneficiary makes a claim, and then the money will actually, in a way, be decided by the executor or like, if not decided by the executor will be the one in charge to make sure that the money is distributed as per how Irfan wanted it to be. So essentially, you're just nominating someone there to manage the money lah. Can executor also be beneficiary? Actually, that's a good question. And to be honest, I'm not 100% sure myself. I don't know actually if an executor can be a beneficiary, because most of the time, if a person is supposed to be a beneficiary, you just put them as a beneficiary. I don't know, but that's a good question, and I will ask my team to see if anyone has the answer to that. And if I do have the answer to that, I'll let Rani know to let you guys know. Okay, so having nominations is important in order for Takaful operators to speed up the time that it takes to deliver the money. Because let's be real, at the end of the day, especially if it's a term Takaful plan, life protection plan, you will probably need the money as soon as you can to handle a lot of things. For example, funeral expenses, medical expenses if there's any, day-to-day living costs, especially if the person who passed on is someone who's the breadwinner of the family, right? So, and ultimately, we always hear this question that people tend to ask. Even myself, I would probably ask the same question: how fast can your claims be settled? How long is it going to take? So when you have nominations and beneficiaries, it means any of you here, if you already have a plan, please check if you have already put in the nominations and beneficiaries for your plan. If you want to update it, you should do it while you're still around, because it will help your loved ones in the event if they ever need to claim, they can get their money fast. Essentially, it will speed up a lot of the SOPs in between. Okay, so is there a limit to the number of nominations? No, there's no limitation. I think it also depends on the company. Some companies may have a limit, some companies don't. And who can nominate? Only the certificate owner. So let's say if there's a family of 4, the certificate owner is the father is the only one that can nominate. Okay. So claims in Takaful is essentially, I'm sure a lot of you here know already, it's just a formal request by the beneficiary or the executor or certificate owner to get the money or the compensation that they have paid for. Executor, is it a third party like will writers? Could be a third party, it could be a family member that you have just put in charge to handle your money. For example, it can be, let's say if you have kids and you want to put your sister as an executor, that's possible as well. Okay, so how does the claiming process work? So first of all, you have to notify the Takaful operator of the claim. So you just need to let them know, maybe by calling them or sending them an email. A lot of times, obviously, you're going to have to send a proof. So for example, if it's a life Takaful, what we call term Takaful, you may need to give the death certificate, or if it covers for total and permanent disability, you need the medical letter for it. If it's a medical Takaful, you may need the medical bill to show proof. And then they will do a checking process. Each Takaful provider has their standard time. So that again depends on the company, depends on the brand, depends on the plan. And then they will investigate the claim. And then after that, they will settle the claim and make the payment to the necessary person. Okay. And of course, this is the question that nobody wants to know about. Can your claim be rejected? I wish I could say no, but unfortunately, there are certain circumstances or certain situations where your claims can be rejected. First of all, right, if any of you here have a Takaful protection insurance plan, whatever it is, and you've taken it ages ago, or if you've taken it recently also, go and have a look back at this part called exclusions. So exclusions are essentially it's in your certificate and it tells you what are you not covered for? What does this plan not cover you for? So for example, some companies or some plans or whatnot may not cover for things like if you pass on in an airplane or if you are in duty or something like that. They may have a long list of exclusions or they may have a really short one. It really depends. But it's good for you to know so that you know when can you actually make a claim and when can you not claim if something happens. So in FWD, we do have certain case by case exclusions, but generally we only have these 3 exclusions for all our plans, be it agency or online plans. One is unlawful act. So it means, let's say if you pass on due to an unlawful act, you went and robbed a store and then you got shot or something, or you got an accident because you robbed a store, we do not cover for that. We do not cover for suicide, but only in the first year. So let's say if you take a plan, I mean, touch wood lah, but like, we just do not cover it for the first year. And then last one, of course, if it's a war or a riot lah, then we do not cover. So these are the 3 situations. Again, like I mentioned, different plans may have an additional exclusions, but generally for FWD Takaful, we only have about 3 to 4 exclusions. Second reason why your claim may be rejected is because of non-disclosure. Now, this is why it's so important to be very honest and upfront in your Takaful application, because if they investigate and they find out that, oh, this person actually already knew that they had a heart history, but they didn't tell us and they took a critical illness plan, they may not approve your claim if they have proof of that. Third one, certificate was not enforced. So again, very important to check, when does your certificate expire? So for example, if you take it 30 years ago, you might want to check if you took a 30 years certificate, it may expire now. Or yeah, so one of the things that you need to check. So certificates can go not enforced for so many reasons, maybe lapse in payment or expiry, that sort of thing. So it's just good to know whether you're still insured. And of course, if you provide wrong information when you participate, then that could also be a reason why your claim is rejected. Okay, next one that we usually hear is this term called waiting period. So are you automatically covered the minute you sign up for a Takaful plan? Most of the time, no. They will usually have this thing where we call a waiting period, where it depends. For example, for flexi cover, I think that's about a 60 days waiting period before you're like considered covered under the plan. So within the waiting period, what happens is you will not be paid any benefit if you make a claim, because it's like within the 60 days, you are actually not really covered yet. Yeah, so the waiting period for every plan, like I mentioned, is really different. So please, if you're planning to subscribe or if you've already subscribed to any plan, please check your certificate, or you can check the product disclosure sheet. All of it will be there. And if you're not sure, it's always good to just ask or Google it. It's so good to know about this, especially if you already have a plan. Okay, so can you cancel your Takaful plan? If you've had yours for a really long time, it will be like what I mentioned earlier on. It might cost you more if you want to cancel now and stuff, and there might be a penalty, although I don't think plans have that nowadays. But there's also this thing called a free look period. And this is, I think, quite generally standard across plans. It's a 15 days period where it's like trial period. So let's say if you sign up today, you have 15 days to cancel the plan if you think you don't like it, and your money will just be refunded back to you. So if you pay, let's say 30 ringgit and you suddenly realize that on the 3rd day, oh, I don't want this plan, I want to get another plan, you can just cancel it, they will refund back the 30 ringgit to you and you can go get a new plan. Okay, so quick scenario time. Again, so this is Irfan over here. He is only child. His father is a retiring taxi driver and his mother is a housewife. And he has a wife and they are expecting their first child soon. Ultimately, they are all counting on him as the breadwinner of the family. You know, he understands that it's important to have financial security and protection, but there's just some stuff he doesn't quite understand about Takaful. So here are just some of his liabilities. His education was funded by PTPTN loan, which I'm still paying off. So that's a debt, right? And he's been working as a corporate executive for 4 years. So what will happen in 3 years' time? Honestly, we will never know. Hopefully nothing happens to him, but some of the things he needs to just think about is he could get sick, something could happen to him, he could get hospitalized, which could affect his income. And if it affects his income, what will happen to his savings? So what can we do to protect his money and his income? So a Takaful contract would protect Irfan's wealth from medical bills, from daily expenses, additional expenses that can come up. So for example, in scenario 1, if Irfan was diagnosed with cancer, one of the plans that we have in FWD Takaful is Big 3. It would have provided Irfan with a lump sum payment that he can spend on his treatments. He can spend it to cover daily expenses because if he's going for treatments, he might not be able to work. It could cover any additional costs, for example, having to buy equipment, any additional supplements or medication that's not covered in a normal medical plan. This plan can help. So essentially, like for example, some of the plans that you can look for besides a medical plan is a lump sum plan like this, where you just get a lump sum of money to help with anything. Because sometimes the cost incurred may not be on the medical bill, it could be on your living expenses, it could be your savings, it could be a lot of other things and things that your medical insurance may not cover you for. So in the event, let's say if your fund passes away unexpectedly, for example, this is where a term Takaful plan would be helpful, like flexi cover, where it would pay 100% of the sum covered to his wife, and maybe let's say he puts his father as the beneficiary as well, so his wife and his father. And with the payout, both of them can continue to take care of themselves and also take care of the soon-to-be born child. So you see, essentially, that is what Takaful is about. It's here to help you. You're not too young or too late to start the journey, and your future self and your family will thank you for taking the necessary steps today. Okay, I know it says thank you here, but wait. I will be starting the Kahoot. You guys can still drop your questions below. Don't worry, the Kahoot is really fast. We are probably going to wrap up before 4:30 anyways. Let me just get the Kahoot link. On an apple-to-apple comparison with conventional insurance, are the premiums lower than conventional insurance for the same level of coverage? Sometimes it can be. It honestly really depends, I think, on the age you take and also the plan you go for. Because when it comes to pricing and when it comes to coverage, right? Like coming back to, I think, what someone asked just now about who is covered. This is not really a conventional or a Takaful insurance versus Takaful insurance kind of conversation, because ultimately, right, both also can cover for a lot of things. The only difference between like conventional and Takaful, I would say the key two things is, one, what kind of investments are they investing in? Two, how do they create their contracts? What kind of contract are you bounded under? So this is more on the ethical or like value side of things. The only part where I think it touches on monetary is that with a Takaful plan, you get surplus. So if the investment brings in more profit, then you get extra, well, maybe not money, you don't get money yourself, but you get cheaper contributions because they would deduct out of your contributions. Okay, so we're just going to play a quick Kahoot game. I'm going to send the link and also the game pin to you guys so you guys can join me. Just remember that, oh, sorry.
Surprises, Diyana.
Sorry, I can't really, hold on. Can you see my screen or is it still the...
Yeah, your screen is still there. You have to stop sharing first.
Okay. 1 second. I'm going to share the link first.
Link. Okay.
Yeah, and then I will share the Kahoot screen. Okay. All right. Okay, can you guys see the Kahoot?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. All right. Okay, so you guys just have to scan this QR code on your screen or put in Kahoot.it. If you have the Kahoot app, you can use the Kahoot app as well. But basically, just start joining. We're gonna play a really like rapid fire kind of questions. Don't worry, it's super fast. We're gonna take like 5-10 minutes, and then while we're waiting for everyone to join in, you guys can ask some questions, or if you just want to unmute and ask something, you can do that as well. Yeah. Just so you know, do join the Kahoot because like I said, we do have rewards that we're planning to give out as well for participation. So you don't want to miss out on that. Okay, we have 12 people. I think we should be having, I've got 2 of my colleagues here, so I think we should be having 25 people. Yeah.
Those of you who have not signed up, yeah, come join us. It's actually an experience. It's not if you know the answers is fine and great, then you can get rewards, but it's still the experience at the end of the day.
Okay, we'll give it like maybe another 2 minutes like that for you guys to join, and we'll start. By the way, try to use the same usernames across like when we do the other Kahoot sessions as well. Just try to use the same usernames because we'll have this data, and like I said, participation is rewarded too. Actually, Kahoot has a sound, but I think I didn't turn it on. Hold on, because it sounds so quiet. Can you hear it now?
Yes. How about the rest, like McKean's, Quada, Rida, LSW? Come on. Ines, Tonglo, are you coming in?
Hi, Rani, I'm already in.
Oh, okay, Tine, sorry. I just saw yours also. Nice.
How do I play, Rani?
Yes, Diana will be showing us what to do next.
Okay, thank you. I missed that part. Thanks.
No worries.
No worries. Kyrene, Huichin.
We need to put our names that can be tracked, right, Diana? Is it?
Sorry?
We need to put our names or something that can be tracked. Short form, then we cannot be tracked later, right? For the later on Kahoots that you do, right?
It's fine. You guys can use like let's say for example,
Nickname.
yeah, someone else use happy day. That's okay. I would just suggest that you guys put happy day for all 5 sessions.
Yeah. Fida. Raida is in. Huichin. Jody. Nice. Jody is
There's
in.
a question here from Barrel in the chat.
Oh yeah, I just replied in the chat as well.
Oh, okay.
Since it was easier to type it out. But essentially, Beryl asked if there's any commission charges So no, there's no commission
Bengi?
charges. You're not taxed for any commission. And let's say if there's any expenses at all, we will never take it out from the contribution side. So remember how I said that you actually pay the Takaful operator a certain amount of money to handle your Takaful fund. This is like whether you are taking an agent plan or online plan or any plan for the matter, they will always have that like, it's like what we call a wakala fee for like to handle the fund as a whole. So if there's any expenses, we will always take from the wakala fund. We cannot, like, from a Sharia perspective, we cannot take from the contribution that you pay actually.
How about McKeans and Karen? Or Karen Chuck is in already. Mengi? Nice. Rosa? Sharini is in. Sharini is in, yeah. Okay, nice. Who else is there? Eddie? Annalise? Ahmad? Are you all scanning the QR code? Come join us.
Also shy to get in.
No
Just-
worries. We
just
can't
for
even
fun.
see you.
Yeah. The more the merrier.
Yep.
About 17. Yeah.
Okay, we'll wait until maybe 4:08, then we will start.
Yep.
So somehow, Diana, when I compared Takaful insurance, meaning like when I was asking the question about apple to apple, just say PA or hospitalization or something, I found that somehow that the Takaful insurance premiums are lower somewhat. You know, in some small way and a big way they are lower, but for the same, for the same kind of like. Hospitalization, right? You have like amount of coverage for the bed and whatever, and the other things there, right?
Correct. There are certain times where Takaful is more affordable. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't have the research to back that up. That's why I don't want to make a confirmed statement on it, because that's something that the product team actually does the research on. But generally, yes, you are right. There are some Takaful plans that are relatively more affordable compared. I can't really speak because it could really sometimes just be a plan to plan basis. So for example, if you take online plans, right? Online plans are just always generally slightly more affordable, simply because one, they don't have any investment aspect to it, and also two, because there are lesser overhead costs lah. Yeah, for example, like, it's all online. There's no human resource that's actually really needed so much. Everything's just done automated, right? So it actually does reduce the cost internally as well.
Right.
So yeah, so that's possibly one of the reasons why certain plans are more affordable lah. Okay, we have about 18 people in. I think we'll just start. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Okay, so first question. Oh wait, it's still loading. Okay guys, so basically all you have to do is, they're going to show you the question here, and then you can start answering on your phone or on your laptop or whatever it is. Just click true or false. That's how it works. So you have a certain time here, so you have about 10 seconds left. The question, the first one is, in a Takaful plan, each person actually contributes to a risk fund. Yes or no? True or false? Yes, correct. It's true. So it's essentially what I said about just now, where Takaful works as simple as everyone chips in into one fund, and then we use that fund in case anybody needs it. Okay, so far, Casey and me is leading. Congratulations. Okay, next. Another true or false question. Can a non-Muslim subscribe to a Takaful plan? I sure hope you all are getting the right answers because everyone is answering so fast. Couldn't even see the question. Have a look at my screen because the question will show on my screen, but you will answer on your phone or your laptop or whatever device you're using. Okay, and yes, you're correct, everyone. A non-Muslim can subscribe to a Takaful plan. I am so grateful that all of you know this, and this is a takeaway you guys had from the session.
All paid attention.
Yeah, it's so good to hear. And it's a very common misconception people have, right? Because everyone always hear Takaful, Sharia, and they're like, oh, that's not for me. But in reality, everyone of different race, religions can take up Takaful. It's just a different type of contract. That's it. Okay, Casey, me, and Beryl are leading now. Congratulations. Fida and Tines are like right behind them. The marks are so close. Okay, now we're going to the third question. Rule of thumb. How much protection does a person need for critical illness protection plan? So this was in the slide where I talked about generally how much protection do you need for your income and for your critical illness protection. There was only two things there. So one easy. Okay, no worries. Okay, so some people, I think top two answers were 5 times and 10 times. So probably some people kind of got mixed it out a bit because these were the two figures I showed in the slide. Correct. Yes. So critical illness, actually, you just need slightly lesser. You just need about 5 times your annual income. Your income protection, you should have 10 times of your annual income. Don't worry, by the way, guys, this is just for fun and games. It's a good learning experience. And you will get the slides. So you can always just refer back anytime you feel like remembering or looking back. Okay, so Takaful is Sharia compliant. Therefore, it is free from the following elements except for riba, garar, maise, and wakala. And we also left the English words there because this is a Takaful crash course, not a Bahasa Arab crash course. Don't worry. Okay, so it is free from all the following elements except for wakala because wakala essentially just means contract. Takaful is essentially a wakala contract. But according to Sharia laws, anything revolving around business cannot have usury, which is riba. It basically just means like an unfair profits, high interest just to make high profit margins, that sort of things is not allowed under Sharia compliance. Uncertainty, so anything that cannot give a predictable result you should not go into something like that. Uncertainty also can be in terms of like no full disclosure on any investment. So for example, if this company or this investment platform doesn't really give you like full disclosure of where the money is going and how the money is using, generally we won't go into something like that. And then lastly is gambling, because ultimately this is the money people put in for their rainy days, right? You don't want to gamble with that kind of money. So even in Sharia compliance, simply because gambling is prohibited in Islam also, that's why we do not put our money in anything that revolves around gambling. So yes, it is free from riba, gara, and maisir, which is usury, uncertainty, and gambling, but it does have a wakala aspect, which basically just means contract. Okay, so right now, Bella took the lead. Casey is still staying strong, although draw already at second place, but me is at third right now. Not bad, not bad. Okay, so what is hibah takaful? So just now we mentioned the word hibah. What does it mean? Okay, 3 more seconds. Great. Okay, I'm so glad a lot of y'all got it right. Okay, correct. It is a gift in the form of Takaful benefit. So for example, if you take 300,000 coverage and you want to give it to your brother, then you put your brother as a beneficiary. Essentially, that 300,000 from the Takaful perspective of it, you're actually giving the 300,000 as a gift to your brother. So yeah. It's not a gift to your Takaful operator. Don't worry, FWD not taking any of your benefit money. We want you to have it. The profit earned through an investment-linked Takaful plan. Profit earned through an investment-linked Takaful plan is not hibah. It's just your profit, your surplus. Contribution that you pay for your Takaful plan. No. So contribution is actually tabaru. Okay. Oh, I can't see the potential answers. It's all on this screen. I think on the participants screen, it will just be the shapes. So you just need to have a look at the shape and look at the screen. Ooh, so Bella's on fire. She's like way ahead. She's at 3,008 already. Not bad, not bad. Congratulations. So Beryl, Fida, Happy Day, and Dines are right behind. And you guys are scoring really well. You guys are doing super well. Yay. Okay, so next question. Below are the questions by Takaful operator in the underwriting section, except for. So remember just now, at the last part of the slide, I was sharing about the different factors of underwriting. This is what they're asking about. Which one is not part of the underwriting? Correct. We don't want to know how many siblings you have. Good to know. Glad that you have siblings if you do, and if you don't, I'm sure it was great having all your parents' love and affection. But it's okay, we don't need to know that. We just need to know your age, your gender, and your occupation, because all of this will affect the risk you have in terms of paying your donation. We need to charge you accordingly to your risk. Okay, so Bella is still in the lead. Our leaderboard has not changed. Next question is, what is a waiting period? Correct. Okay, it is a period in which Takaful operator will not pay your benefit. So the waiting period changes for each plan and each company or brand. But it's essentially the time that, like, it's like a waiting period. So let's say if you sign up today, maybe within the next 60 days or 70 days or 1 year, it really depends on the plan. They just won't pay you because that's part of the contract that they do, just to make sure. In a way, it's also just to make sure that no one is doing any fraudulent activities lah. Okay, alamak, Bella fell off already, but Beryl took the spot. No worries, we still have 2 more questions for you to go, so maybe you can get back your spot. Okay, so below are some of the reasons why Takaful claims can be rejected, except for. I feel like this one, bonus question, so easy. Correct. Overpaid contribution. Obviously, the Takaful operator will not have a problem if you pay them extra. However, if it's a death due to suicide, it depends on the company lah. Because for example, like in FWD Takaful, we don't cover suicide only in the first year. Some companies just do not cover it at all. Most companies, I have not heard of a company that does accept any benefit claims if the person committed a crime. Most companies don't accept it. Expired certificate, most definitely you cannot claim already, because technically you are not covered under the company anymore. If you accidentally pay extra contribution, I'm sure the company will be more than willing to give you your claim. Okay, last question. All right, you can only receive the full amount of the paid contribution if you cancel during the Correct, during the free look period. Essentially, the free look period is like a free trial period lah. You don't get charged for if you're within that 15 days. It's a general standard rule, if I'm not mistaken. It's memang 15 days, or at least in FWD Takaful across all products, it's 15 days. If let's say you're not satisfied with the plan within this 15 days, you can always cancel and we will just refund you back your full paid contribution amount. After your free look period, that one is on a plan to plan basis. Some plan that can actually give you maybe like 75% back. Some plans may not give you at all. Some plans may give you everything back. So please read the frequently asked questions, the FAQs, read your product disclosure sheet, and read the sample certificate. Any plan that you're planning to take, whether it's with FWD or another brand, doesn't matter. Please read, because especially when you talk about Takaful, right, this is not something you take for 1-2 years. It's something that you probably take for 20-30 years. So it's good to just spend a little extra time really knowing what you're signing up for. So some of you guys answered waiting period. Okay, so waiting period is actually after you have already signed up for a plan. That's the period of time that they do not pay your contribution if anything happens. So that's the difference. Judging and resting period memang don't have. Okay, so let's see who is number 3. Rose is number 3. Congratulations. And then Tines is on 2nd place. And Beryl is at 1st. Congratulations, Beryl. Okay, I'm so sorry. Like I said, we don't have a reward for each week, but your participation and your performance, all these little things, we will take note, and we will definitely be rewarding you for that after all 5 sessions. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them below. Yeah, wow, right, Tines, congratulations. Anyways, I wanted to say that if you guys have any questions, you can drop them now. We have about another 9 minutes, but if not, then I'll just wrap it up slightly early. Don't want to take too much of your time if it's not necessary either. I do want to say, do come back for the next session next week, because next session we'll go a little bit more in depth on different about the FWD affiliates program, and I think this is something that a lot of you guys may find it very interesting, because you get to see a little bit about how digital marketing gets into the world, like how it's implemented, because it's done a lot under the affiliates program. That's 1. 2, we will also be sharing about the contest for the whole mastery class session next week. So definitely come if you want to know what kind of rewards you can get. And I promise you, they're super simple. Some of it is like I said, for engagement. So as long as you show up and you just like do some activities that we share, you kind of talk a lot in the chat room and that kind of stuff. So it's like participation rewards. We've got rewards for like people who for the assignments as well. I don't want to share too much because I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, so do come next week and you guys get to see all of that. Congratulations to all of the Kahoot winners. We'll have another Kahoot session next week as well. Okay, I think that's about it, and I think no one seems to have any questions. I'll just stay around. Oh wait, sorry. Someone did ask a good question actually. Okay, Beryl, can you briefly explain about what documentation that buyers should be aware of, like product disclosure and all that? Okay, I'm going to put this in the chat room as well so that everyone can take note. But the first thing would be a product disclosure sheet. So this is basically, to simplify it, it's like a product flyer, but in like a lot of details. And then the second one is the FAQ. And the third one, I'm sorry, I accidentally pressed send. I'm just going to put it together. Okay, second one is an FAQ. And the third one is the sample certificate. Now, I feel like these are basic documents that you can get before you purchase or participate in any plan. You can get this from, let's say if you're getting it from an agent, you can actually ask your agent. If you're getting it from online, most of the time, if you look online, even if you're not buying it through an agent, right, you can get it online. They will have all of this there. So for example, let's say even if it's an agent product and you want to like just have a look first before you talk to the agent, they will usually have it online, like all of this. So basically when you go into the website, they will have the product disclosure there where it talks a lot about the product details, like for example, the benefits you get, the waiting period, all those terms that you saw me mention just now, like free look period, waiting period, coverage, benefits, all of this, you will have it in the product disclosure sheet. You will also have it in the FAQ. FAQ may also have certain questions that are like a bit more specific. Like for example, certain things that you guys ask here, like who can get covered? How much is the lowest price, that sort of thing. So maybe the FAQ will cover those sort of things as well. Sample certificate is the most complete set, if you ask me. So if you don't have time to go through the FAQ and the PDS, I would suggest at least go through the sample certificate, because it will have everything in there. For example, in FWD sample certificate, we will even show you the breakdown. So remember how I said we have that wakalah fee that the Takaful operator takes as a service fee to handle the pool of fund. We will even show you the table of like how much percentage is actually like from the contribution you pay, right? How much is actually going into the pool of fund and how much is actually the service fee. So those sort of things, and then we will show you what you covered for and what are you not covered for. That's even more important. Do I have any sample with me? Okay, so my colleague Kai just actually shared the link. When you guys go into the link, right? Let me just, don't worry, by the way, I will also share the link inside the slide later, and I'll add a QR code so that you guys can, like when you guys get the slides, you guys still have the link to the website queries. Okay, I'm going to open the website now. Okay, oh, sorry. Okay, let's say for example, I just go to any one of our plans. Okay, let's say we take Big 3, right? Since I've mentioned it. Okay, all right. So when you see Big 3 plan, you see your benefits at a glance. So this one is just giving you a very short breakdown of the benefits. But before you purchase anything, it's really good for you to just have a look. When you scroll at the bottom, you will see these 3 things. One is the FAQ. So let's say if I right click and I open this PDF will come up. See, it shows you what is the plan about, what benefits it covers, any supplementary benefits, is the product Sharia compliant, who is eligible, how do you apply, some covered, that sort of thing. So very basic questions. There's a whole list of it. Okay, wait. How do I? Okay, hold on. Let me just hide this floating. Okay, and then you have this one, which is the sample certificate. So sample certificate is the most complete document. You will have your, they will show you essentially, okay, so sample certificate, simply put, is basically when you sign up, they will give you that certificate to, like, which is like your contract, right? This is a sample of it. So ours, for example, we keep it very straightforward. So simple words, nothing bombastic, anyone can read it. So we explain to you also what is Takaful here. So what you saw on my slides just now, we kind of explain it a little here as well. We also explain to you like what your certificate is made up of, that sort of thing. Some information, proof of age. So basically everything you need to know about your plan will be here. We even talk about the 15-day free look period. We will tell you what you need to do if, let's say, you need something or you want to make a claim or whatever.
Raida, could you kindly mute? Raida, could you kindly mute? Raida, are you there? I think. Sorry, Diana, for the interruption.
No worries. Don't worry about it. Okay, yeah, so basically it shares a little bit on this. But okay, so the key things for you to look at, right? For example, in the sample certificate, okay, they give you a quick summary of your benefits. And then they will also explain a little bit about what you get, right? Like 100%, some cover, contribution, all of that. Description, so very detailed stuff. So this one you will just have to do a little bit of reading lah. This is another important part, exclusions, like I mentioned. So for example, if you see in Big 3 here, we already explained for this benefit, we don't cover for suicide and self-inflicted act. or we don't cover if you have already like a previous history. For death benefit, we don't cover for suicide, that sort of thing. So all the information you need will be in your sample certificate. But let's say, for example, you're very thorough, which is good. You wanna read everything. You have your sample certificate, your FAQ, and you also have your product disclosure sheet. So these are the 3 key documents you should look at. They will have all the information that you need about the product. It will just be very helpful for you when you're doing your research. I hope this short show helped. Yeah, but anyways, don't worry. You guys can either click on the link now, or I will also add the link into the slides later, and I'll add a QR code as well, so that you guys can just have a look anytime you guys want. Okay, it's already 4:30. I don't want to keep you guys for too long either. It's been a pretty long session, and thank you so much for staying through until the end. I'm really glad that you guys think it was a interesting session. Thank you. And yes, you guys please have a good day too. Right, Rani, I will send over the slides to you shortly.
Yeah,
For
sure.
you to share. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Diana. And I think let's all give Diana a clap, physical clap, or the icon clap. You know, she really was a good speaker. She made the understanding of insurance and Takaful so much, easy to understand. And I look forward to all of you coming next week. And I'm sure more will come next week as well, because when they hear from you that they missed such a good session, they should feel bad. So we'll look forward to all of you. But right now, I'd like to do a group photo session. And if each of you can kindly on your camera, that will be great. And we also have a short video to share with you about what GetEmployed is and how it's helping unemployed Malaysians. And right now, we also like to thank Kai, who is Diana's colleague who supported us during this session. And my colleagues here presently are Suresh and Annalise, who are part of the LTT Global team. Another colleague had to drop out because of TM outage at his area. So he's very sad he couldn't participate in Kahoot. He's always a Kahoot supporter. So, right. So come on, Hafiza, Rosa, happy day, Ain, kindly on your camera. We'll get to see all of you. McKeans, Ahmad, Karen, yeah. Who else? Beryl. Okay, going to count 3. Give me your best smile. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Okay, thank you so much. So now just give me a minute for me to give you a short video, and you'll be able to actually share with anybody else as well that you know who are unemployed. Ask them to come participate in our programs. We have several cohorts. So the current cohort is running. It started on the 10th of January. Okay, here we go. Oh. Okay, and another video that we wish to share with you is actually
hello, my friends.
Oh, sorry.
My name is
And one more video as to why you should join this program. Why you should join this program and who is LTT Global. I'm sure you have this question in your mind. So this is a video on LTT Global. So thank you so much, everybody. Thanks, Diana, again for your session. So we'll see all of you next Wednesday. Oh, sorry. I think it's my... Sorry. Okay, so we'll see all of you next Wednesday at 2:30 sharp. All right?
Rani, they can use the same link, right? The same is it the same Zoom link?
Zoom link? Yes, it's the same Zoom link for everybody. All right. So, Diana, do you have anything to say?
Not really, just that I hope to see all of you in the next session as well.
Okay. So, thanks again, everybody. Have a lovely evening, and we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Rani.
Thank you, Puada.
Thank you, Diana. Great session.
Thank you.